In this video, I will explain to you why young people, and really all people, sabotage results that they're getting. So they might, at the last minute, not study for an exam, or stay out late, or not. It's a lot around not doing something or avoiding things in their lives, especially for young people, that has them, sabotage otherwise good results that they were going to get. Okay, so before I explain why, we have to talk about some principles, all right? So one principle is, and stick around for the end of the video. There's going to be a cool reveal about sabotage that I'll go a little bit more in depth with. All right, so the first principle is, everything that we do in our lives serves us on some level. It's everything. I'm talking about behaviors, thoughts, and feelings. They all serve some part of ourselves on some level. Now, I'll use myself as an example, but you'll have to apply this to yourself because we probably live very different lifestyles. I'm a monk living in Naples, Florida, and that probably says enough. All right, a celibate monk living in Naples, Florida. So I eat vegetarian food. I don't do drugs or alcohol. I'm celibate. I'm not in a relationship in any kind. I'm not going to be. I live a pretty pure, simple lifestyle. That has a lot of health aspects to it. So, but I'll give an example. So last night, after a long day of client calls, which I really enjoyed, I just wanted to kind of veg out and chill. And so I started watching Saturday Night Live videos. Well, I went a little too far, right? I stayed up for like an hour longer, and I stayed up till like 11:30 or midnight, and because I really enjoy watching sketch comedy, all right? Turning this into a little bit of a confession, okay? I really like watching comedy, especially at night after a long day of like being with people and supporting people, right? So that meant that then I didn't get up as early as I wanted to. Now, for a monk, the prime time of the day is before dawn. The world is quiet. We love to meditate, do our ceremonies, do our japa, which is like reciting a mantra. I mean, it is the best time. In India, I often get up at 2 or 3 a.m. and we have like 5 hours of sadhana, or spiritual practice, meditation, before our day even gets started. So a little bit more challenging for me to do that here. So all this to say, obviously last night I was doing something that I enjoyed. I knew it would probably have a certain impact on this morning. I was kind of fine with it, but it served some part of myself. Sleeping in served an obvious part of myself where I just wanted to rest a little bit longer. Probably didn't need to, but in a way I kind of sabotaged a result that I would have gotten this morning from meditating for a certain amount of time at a certain time of the day. Now, for yourselves, look at some of the unhealthy habits that you have, some things that you don't like about yourselves, things that you do. And if you look deeply enough and with the right kind of sophistication, you'll find that everything that you do serves yourself on some level. For me, if I get irritated or angry, the classic example for me is driving in Florida. There are a lot of people who drive very slowly. I don't like to drive slowly. I like to get where I'm going. I have a kind of a fast car that I enjoy driving pretty quickly. And I get frustrated almost every time I drive. This is turning into a confession again. But yeah, it serves me. Why does it serve me to get frustrated? Because here's an insight for you, for myself, because I think I'm right. Other people shouldn't be driving slow, and they should be driving the way that I drive, right? So how does irritability serve me in this way? Because I get to be right. I get to be righteous. I know the best way to do this thing in the world, and by God, if they don't do it, God, what's wrong with those people, So a couple of examples, and you can look for yourself for a moment around everything that you do, especially things you don't enjoy about yourself, like habits that you don't appreciate, or ways that you feel, or ways that you are. It serves you on some level because most of the time it keeps us safe. And it buoys up our ego in some ways so that we don't have to feel insecure. Okay, so all this to say, the first principle is everything we do serves on some level. So let's apply this to sabotage. How does sabotage serve? Let's go to our second principle. We as humans are constantly creating congruence in our lives, meaning we are always wanting, just because it's in our system, the outside result to mimic the internal experience. So for example, if I am a person who feels wrong a lot, or I feel insecure a lot, my results are going to reflect insecurity. I'm probably going to attract insecure people to my life. I'm going to judge insecure people. There's going to be a congruence in themes around parts of myself that, whether I see them or not, however I am, and a lot of people don't own that they're insecure. I fortunately can do that because I can be a very insecure person, and I can also be a very secure person in myself. It depends on kind of what I'm doing, what I'm up to, who I'm with, all those kinds of things, right? So our results always mimic how we are inside, whether we are aware of them or not inside. Our results will mimic what those are. Furthermore, we are always creating congruence in our lives. So meaning, we'll go back to sabotage here. If I feel like a failure, or I feel like I don't have any self-worth, I am going to create results, consciously or unconsciously, that are congruent with how I feel about myself. So the results out there will mimic the same kind of feeling or experience or qualities that I have inside. Why? Because that's relaxing. It's safe. It's predictable. We like being congruent. We like how some part of us, maybe not consciously we don't like it, but some part of us appreciates the safety that's created through predictability around how we are and feel inside of ourselves, consciously or unconsciously, and our results. That's why one great teacher that I studied with years ago said, if you show me your results, I'll tell you how you think. God, fascinating, huh? So all this to say, if we're looking at sabotage, why would someone sabotage a good thing going in their life? The number one reason that I found through over 70,000 hours working with young people and families who are in crisis and struggling over the last 23 years in a variety of contexts is that they do not like who they are. In fact, the worse their results are, the more that they hate themselves. They don't believe that they deserve to have these good results, to be treated well. That's why they often will find partners who are terrible for them or treat them well, or they want to rescue because they're awful and they can't rescue themselves. So they're projecting their own rescuing onto somebody else. If they can just rescue them, they feel like maybe they can rescue themselves. There's a whole mess of this. But the principles are everything we do serves us on some level, some part of ourselves on some level, and we are constantly creating congruence in our lives. It's a lot of C's there, okay? We're constantly creating congruence in our lives. So what do we do? I'm going to create another video to talk about what we do, but here's another piece around sabotage. It may not be sabotage. They may not just care. Sabotage is something that's done kind of in secret, right? That's like, hey, guys sneak into some, camp or something in a war and they blow up whatever. And they're like, no, how could you have done that? And they're like, ha ha ha. So they may not have done it on purpose. It may not even be because they wanted to fail per se. It could be from not being disciplined or having kind of ADHD symptoms or being more focused on short-term gratification, executive function deficits. There could be a variety of reasons around why it looks like sabotage, but don't be too quick to judge it as sabotage. Judge it as they're not getting the result that you want. And you could ask them if it's the result that they want, right? And you'll get some interesting answers if you ask them, is this what you wanted to have happen? In a curious way, not in a judgy way, right? In another video, I talk about how to be congruent with how you feel and how you speak in terms of like how to have your child listen to you if you speak. The number one thing, we're taking a little tangent here. The number one thing is have your emotions that you want to have drive your statement. So in my little statement here, why did you fail your exam? Right, I'm coming from a judgmental, fear-based, scared, angry, frustrated, irritated place as opposed to, why do you think you failed the exam? I really want to know. You can tell there, even in just my subpar acting, I'm promoting curiosity, right? I'm coming from a curious place within myself. So going back to, is it sabotage or not? You won't know until you ask them. Really, and you'll get some information from them. It may not be helpful information, but you'll get some information at least. Sabotage or not getting results that they planned to get is fueled by a lack of self-care. Always. Now, again, it could be of let's call it an organic deficit, that they are not organized and forgot, or it could be from a personality flaw around feeling too cocky and kind of arrogant and like, I've got this, I know everything, and then they don't do well. I'm using this exam example, right? But it's really fueled by a lack of self-care that ultimately reflects that they don't really care about themselves. If they really cared about themselves, and you all probably know this as adults, I'm guessing, this is who I'm speaking to, that if you cared about yourself, even if you cared a lot about someone else, you would push yourself. They would push themselves. Because pushing yourself in the right kind of way is an expression of self-care. Not caring about results is not caring about ourselves. Avoidance is not caring about ourselves. So then there are two things to do here. One is, and I'll go into this more in another video, one is to look at your structure and create structure on how to create structure that inspires them to do better, and two is through the relationship. I'll say more about that then. So to bring this all together, there are two principles to look at when your child is sabotaging or seemingly sabotaging. Everything we do serves some part of ourselves on some level. And secondly, we are always creating congruence in our lives, the internal experience and the external result. Hopefully this is helpful for you. If you enjoyed it, give me a thumbs up or subscribe, and write some comments below. I love reading them and finding out what other videos I can provide you with. All right, all my best.